The rise of paganism in Rome is nothing to scoff at. There are certainly people who think we're all lunatics for thinking that what we've seen is a new form of eco-occultism, with some saying that it's not the occult on display, but a new concern for global ecology on the part of the Vatican, with a special focus on the plight of the people of the Amazon. That's rubbish. One of the things I've learned in life is that you can learn an awful lot about something by the kinds of people who praise it and by the kinds of people who oppose it. And in the past, we've had a lot of praise about the event in the Vatican Gardens that set off a firestorm of controversy on October 4th. So let's have a look at the fallout from the tree planting ceremony that involved an idol of the pagan deity Pachamama. This is the truth about Pachamama. What you just saw was a clip taken from a parish church inside the Vatican. Yes, that does look an awful lot like a mockery of the asperges, that ceremony that opens the High Mass, where the faithful are sprinkled in holy water while singing a prayer of cleansing. This is obviously something else, and it brings us to our topic of the day. Over the weekend, a whole slew of information about Pachamama and the demon worship of that being came to light. And from henceforth in this video, I will refer to that being as the letter P, and if you don't know why, I'll let St. Paul explain it to you himself. Quote, "The chalice of benediction which we bless, is it not from the communion of the blood of Christ? And the bread which we break, is it not the partaking of the body of the Lord? For we, being many, are one bread, one body, all that partake of one bread. Behold Israel according to the flesh. Are not they that eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What then? Do I say that what is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything, or that the idol is anything? But the things which the heathen sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to God. And I would not that you should be made partakers with devils. You cannot drink the chalice of the Lord, and the chalice of devils. You cannot be partakers of the table of the Lord and of the table of devils." Those words are taken from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. They remind us that the Trinitarian God is the only true God, the God of Israel, and as such, all the gods of the Gentiles are devils. It's a shocking statement, so intolerant to modern ears, that are used to compromising the faith for a mess of pottage, but the words are as true and inerrant today as they were the day that St. Paul wrote them down. That includes the so-called deity Pachamama, or P, which will be henceforth referred to in this video by the letter P, for saying the name of a demon is rather ill-advised according to literally every exorcist in the church of any repute. But P is certainly a demon, for we have, by the Vatican's own admission at a press conference this past week, that the idol that was present at the garden ritual and has been present in front of altars and as the focus of processions in the Vatican was not the Virgin Mary, as had been claimed by Francis sycophants like professional Francis fanfiction writer Austin Ivere, but was rather an image that was culturally important in the Amazon. For who P is in the minds of the Amazonian peoples, we turn to a pagan website, which gives a brutally honest answer. Keep the Book of the Apocalypse or Revelation, if you prefer, in mind for this quote. P is the supreme goddess honored by the indigenous people of the Andes, including Peru, Argentina, and Bolivia. P is referred to as both the physical planet Earth as well as the universal feminine energy in time and space, the cosmic mother. Paca is an archaic Quechua word meaning universe, world, time, and space. So she is in fact the goddess of all that exists for all time, eternal. She is considered the mother who begets life, nourishes, and protects. In her role as Mother Earth, she oversees planting and harvesting, and is responsible for the well-being of plants and animals. Offerings are made to her regularly for success in all endeavors. P is often depicted as a huge dragon, as she represents the Andes Mountains. When she feels disrespected, she may cause earthquakes. End quote. Again, I took that from a pagan website that is not in any way affiliated with the Amazon Synod or the Vatican. I'll have more on the dragon imagery at the end of this. One of the Amazon Synod bishops, Bishop David Martinez de Aguirre Guina, denied that the image was of the Virgin or of P, but independent research of a wide variety from a lot of different people has in fact confirmed that it is of P. But quoting Bishop Martinez, quote, "Those who used this symbol wished it to reflect fertility to women, to life, the life present among the Amazonian people, and Amazonia as an entity full of life. I don't think we need to make connections with the Virgin Mary or with a pagan element." End quote. The problem is that it is absolutely a very specific pagan image done with a very specific pagan ritual, and one that has biblical significance in its serpentine and draconic imagery. Deacon Nick Donnelly penned a good piece for Rorate Caeli about the contagion of pagan worship. According to Deacon Donnelly, who himself cites the works of exorcists like Father Amorth and Father Jeremy Davies, idol worship and paganism broadly is a contagion with catastrophic consequences if it is permitted to spread. Quoting his piece for Rorate Caeli, quote, "All those who participated in the P rituals are a danger to others in the church because they will spread the contagion of idol worship. It is likely that some synod fathers will even further extol and disseminate the demonic nature of religions of the Amazon. The fact that the P idol was processed into the synod hall is a grave cause for concern because it places a demon at the heart of the Amazonian synod's deliberations. The danger is that many evils may be introduced into the church that will have the devil as their author." End quote. Now, do I think these bishops willfully worshipped a demon? For the most part, no, though we do know about the accusations of Satanism in the Vatican made by numerous figures, including Father Amorth, going back many decades. Remember for the concept of the useful idiot in this, unfortunately. And honestly, I simply think that many of these bishops have fallen so hard into worldliness that they no longer believe in the same Christ that we do. If you do not believe that anyone is in hell save for the absolutely most historically evil people, and if you believe that there is a reasonable hope that all men are saved, then logically idol worship becomes relatively harmless. I mean, after all, Christ told us to love one another, and in the modern lexicon, loving your neighbor means not judge them. Follow the logic, and you can see the functional death of the faith for some in the hierarchy, especially for those who have traded in the cross, being a true pastor for power, wealth, influence, and worst of all, for the respect of the world. And no, I'm not accusing any particular bishop or any other public figure in the church of this. The cost for any person who makes this trade, though, is usually personally disastrous. But in the right circumstances, it can be catastrophic for the souls of the faithful, and even the material society itself. Deacon Donnelly asks a serious question in his piece for Rorate Caeli. Was a demon enthroned in the Vatican that day? For the answer to that, let's turn to something I alluded to at the start of this video. In the introduction, I mentioned that pagans were expressing their approval of the ceremony in the Vatican gardens. Here's an example from complicit clergy. Quote, Antrodea-magia-news.it, a site dedicated to promoting witchcraft and superstition, praised the opening ceremony for the Amazon Synod held in the Garden of the Vatican on October 4th. The site characterized the event as a beautiful ritual dedicated to Mother Earth, and a pagan fertility ritual with indigenous leaders who worshipped two idols of a fertility goddess of the earth. The author states, "For our part, we are very happy with this event that will surely open the doors to a more open and rosy future for us pagans." The site acknowledges that the ceremony was almost completely officiated by these indigenous shamans who performed various rituals that have nothing to do with the Catholic Church. End quote. It is worth noting that according to Father Dwight Longenecker, worship of P is typically done on the first Friday of the month. This ritual was held on the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, Friday, October 4th. That's not a coincidence, nor do I think it is a coincidence that St. Francis's feast was placed on October 4th, early in the month in order to demonstrate a right-ordered love for creation, among other great things that the great evangelizer did himself. Father Longenecker points out that the demon P is a sort of inversion of the story of Eve, where Eve is the mother of all humanity, and she was at odds with the serpent, while P is one and the same as the serpent. To paraphrase Father Longenecker, it is as if the serpent swallowed Eve, and that they are not in conflict at all. In this example, we can see a frightful symmetry between earth worship and contemporary political movements that upset the natural order. Finally, I'll leave you with this. A listener emailed me and recounted how they had been a convert to the faith from paganism and were familiar with this particular demon, for they had taken part in ritual worship of the fake deity P earlier in life. The details they recounted were disturbing, and I'm not going to go over most of them here. But most importantly, they wrote about how P is a serpent deity associated with fire. Think on that for a moment. Think on how the prelates of the church have given a place of honor, to a demonic entity, an image associated with fire, a serpent, if you will. And then remember a warning from sacred scripture about the tail of the dragon sweeping 1/3 of the stars from heaven. And remember that curious question from Deacon Nick Donnelly, who asked if we witnessed the enthronement of something demonic in the Vatican. Obviously, you should keep praying for the church. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony Stine. Viva Cristo Rey.